You're watching Detroit on Deck. Here are your hosts, Dave Saseski and Josh Clark.
What's going on, Clarky? Episode number 12 of Detroit on Deck. It's a Saturday. It's a beautiful day outside if you ignore the snow, which I'm going to do. But listen, we got football. NFL kicks off the divisional round this weekend. I'm super excited. I know you are. You already got your Detroit Lions gear. You're thinking about the summertime because you got your Mud Hens hat on. I love that. How's it going this Saturday, Clark? And what's on your mind, man?
Oh, it's going good, man. Got the kids this weekend, so just kind of letting them, run rambunctious around the house while I do my thing.
They get to have the red pop and candy this weekend, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
I know you, man. I lived with you. There's no red pop. Nothing like that. I feel you, man. I don't know what it is about red pop. My mom was always like, I could have pop, but like if it was red, she thought it was worse for me, so she would mix it with water. My brothers know about this. So it's half water, half pop. At that point, you're like, I don't need the pop. We'll just drink the water, right?
You're basically drinking Kool-Aid without sugar.
I mean, and we had that too. So, yeah. Let's just. And then when I made Kool-Aid as an adult, right, which I'm still trying to reach that the pinnacle, right? It was just like tons of sugar, right? Like a little bit of Kool-Aid, a lot of bit of sugar. So. That's what's wrong with me. Clark, we got 8 teams left in this thing, right? The Lions are one of the final 8 teams. I think if you took away your fandom and your fear of what it's been to be a Detroit Lions fan, I think you're not surprised that they're here. But with the way that things have went with this franchise over the years, you're almost a little surprised because you're like, you expect, like, it's like being a Cubs fan, which we are, right? It's like you expect bad things to happen, but at the same time, you're like, this team on paper is good and they should get here, right? And I'm not saying the Cubs now, I'm saying like in past years, right? But like this Lions team has everything that they need to really win a championship, but they also have a lot of holes. So it's like, okay. And is there a perfect team out there? I would say not. Are there better teams in the playoffs? I would say yes, but there are not a lot. So Detroit's in the conversation. And as you know, Josh, any given Sunday, any given Saturday, whatever you want to say, anything can happen in the NFL. But let's have some fun here, man. I said it, 8 teams, 8 quarterbacks. We'd love to talk quarterbacks because offense and sports – It's a trendy topic, right? So 1 through 8. I got a list here, but I want to hear yours. So what we'll do is we'll each say our number 8 and 7 and so on. Number 8 for me is Baker Mayfield. Good player, but in terms of the quarterbacks on this list, he slides in at 8. You?
Yeah, no, I also have Baker Mayfield at number 8. I think he's a product of his environment. He got some better receivers, so he's playing a little bit better. But push come to shove, one of those wide receivers gets injured or something, I think he falls off the face of the earth. So I have him at number 8.
Yeah, I want to say good things about him, but we know who he is. Number 7 for you? Who's number 7?
I have Brock Purdy at number 7.
Wow.
At number 7. I think he is a phenomenal quarterback. I still think he has some proving to do. I think he's also a product of, his environment. His team is phenomenal. I mean, he's got the best player in football, in my opinion, and Christian McCaffrey, so that definitely helps,
Yeah.
I think all the hype around him has been warranted. Definitely, earned it. But yeah, I definitely want to see him take another step in year 3 next year. I definitely think that he is probably top 4, top 5 in the NFC quarterback. So I mean, in terms of the 8, I mean, we're talking about some studs on this list, so he can't be much higher. So yeah, I'm putting him at number 7.
Number 7 for me is Jordan Love. I know he's been playing really good and out of his mind, and he gets a jump because he defeated the Cowboys, and I hate the Cowboys, and I'm all for it, but I just still don't trust him, and he's a rookie, so a rookie starter. So I'm going to go Jordan Love at 7. Number 6 for me, CJ Stroud. I mean, I could have had him anywhere on this list, to be honest with you, because I think he's been fantastic, but he's a Buckeye, and for me, he gets knocked down a couple pegs. So, if I'm being honest, it's just because he's a rookie and he had a few games where he was hurt this season. So I'm going to say, as of right now, he's 6 for me.
Number 6 for me is Detroit's own Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Goff, he's obviously experienced, but not much of the Lions are. So I think that plays a little bit of a factor. It's good having a quarterback who has been there, done it, in terms of making it to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for them to make a deep run, they're going to need to lean on him a little bit more because of the experience.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it being a good key for success, not having, as many experienced players, especially when you look at some of these other guys and, these other teams that are, in the playoffs. So because of that reason, I put Goff at number 6.
Okay. Number 5 for me, I'm going Jared Goff. I think, we're kind of around the same area for him. I think he's had an amazing season. I just believe that he's at the ceiling for himself. He's not getting any better, right? He's not going to all of a sudden become Lamar Jackson and scramble out the pocket. And you'll never confuse him for a QB that has speed, right? And that's fine, because at that point you have to be one of the best, one of the elite, we say, in the pocket. And he really is. He's been great. And he's back to confident Jared Goff, which is fantastic for Detroit. What about you? Number 5.
My number 5 is Action Jackson.
Oh, wow.
Lamar Jackson.
Wow. The MVP of the league, probably? You got it number 5? That's a lot of hate.
5.
That's a lot of hate.
I don't care what is Lamar Jackson. To me, if you look at Lamar Jackson as a single play, if you look at Lamar Jackson as a single player, he's phenomenal running the football. He's not great passing wise. He's getting better. I will give him credit there. He is getting better. But the way that I look at him and view him, he is the Dallas Cowboys of individual players.
Oh, gross. We disagree.
He flames out in the playoffs.
Well,
he doesn't do much. Just like the Cowboys as a team, he does the same thing. He doesn't show up. He doesn't perform.
Well, this is his 3rd time in the playoffs technically, because the first year doesn't really matter, right? So you got to give him a little bit of time. I think he's made strides. He's in an offense now. I think it's Todd Muntz, I believe, his offensive coordinator from Georgia. So what they tried to do is they brought someone in from Georgia. What did they have at Georgia? They had an undersized quarterback who had some speedy receivers, and they made the offense around him the same. I think it's made Lamar a better passer because it's not predictable as much. I think he's great, but hey, that's fine, and that's your list.
I know I'm going to get hate for it. I'm all for it. Come on, baby. If you ain't got nobody to hate on,
I'll probably get hate here, but it's fine. Number 4 for me is Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if it's. I'm going to say it's this year, Patrick Mahomes, because I know he's a great quarterback and all this, but he's really not. He's taken a step back from where he was. Will he go back to where he could be next year? Of course, I believe he can. He's still in his prime. He's not old at all by any means, but I think he's taken a little bit of a step back, and a lot of people could say that's because of his receivers. Say what you want, but I'm going for Mahomes. You?
4 for me is Josh Allen.
Okay, that's going to be an interesting list for you.
I have Josh Allen at number 4. kind of for the same reasons as Jackson. He can get his team to the playoffs, but he doesn't really do much there. Just kind of need to see it before I rank him above potentially the best quarterback in all of football right now in Mahomes. But I think he's improving. I think he's becoming a better player over the years. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm about showing me and not talking about it, and he just hasn't shown it in the playoffs.
All right, for me, number 3 is Josh Allen. So I like Josh Allen a lot. I think he played great against the Steelers, but I would expect him to play good against the Steelers. The Steelers, to me, a little bit of an aging team. Without Watt, yeah, you better run all over them. They, at one point, were only up 24-17. Not Josh Allen's fault. He doesn't play defense, but he was great in that game. Say what you want about the fake slide. It worked. Kenny Pickett knows all about that, so he was on the sidelines watching that. But I thought it was a great game for Josh Allen, doing it in the playoffs. They at one point they were not even going to make the playoffs. A lot of people thought, and then they made some changes. But they moved Ken Dorsey out of the offensive coordinator spot. It was controversial, but Josh Allen seems like he's playing a little bit better football, mistake-free football, and it's showing off. What about you?
My number 3 is Jordan Love.
Wow, that's a high ranking for Jordan Love.
So for me, here we go.
Okay.
So for me, it's a few different things. We've heard all about Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and his whatever Jordan Love's not ready, which is why they kept bringing Aaron Rodgers back, so on and so forth. This is his first year. I believe they started off like 3-6, something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was written off talking about the Packers need to do this and this and this at quarterback. From that moment on, he's done nothing but accepted the pressure of the media, turned it on, and willed his team to the playoffs on his own as a first-year starter. To me, that shows me that you can play on the big stage and that the pressure of the media doesn't get to you, which is what you need for a franchise quarterback.
I understand where you're going from there. I mean, because I can't say anything wrong about his start versus Dallas. It was phenomenal. But I am curious to see him against a real defense, and I think we're gonna find out a lot about this guy today. And I hope they win. I really do, because I know that Detroit would have a better shot personally. The Niners, they got a squad, man. They have got a squad. So we'll see. Number 2.
It's definitely going to fall on Jordan Love to beat the 49ers. You're going to have to make some big throws like you did against Dallas, and you definitely have to put up 35+ again. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. Number 2 for me, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is, outside of a couple games this season, and they were bad because I had him on my fantasy teams on a couple leagues, but he was in the MVP conversation for a while. How real that was, I don't really know if I took that serious. I thought CMC was more the MVP on that team, but he worked with what he had. He's got a lot of weapons, but he looked good. And yeah, no, it's a Kyle Shanahan offense, but really just don't be the reason why they lose in that offense. And if you don't throw 4 picks, which he did a couple times this year, you're fine. But the man was awesome. He really leaned on his tight end when he needed to. We had a big year from George Kittle this season again. It was good to see, because I think a lot of people were like, is he in decline? He still got it, man. And when you got Deebo Samuel, who can run the ball or catch the ball, doesn't hurt, and CMC. So I like Brock Purdy. I trust Brock Purdy, and I think it'll be nice to see him healthy and see what happens.
My number 1 is obviously Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think this list is close. I think he's a clear-cut number 1. For many reasons. The one, the old saying, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. They are the defending champions. What do they do every regular season? They sleepwalk. Come playoff time, what do? They turn it on, just like they did last week against the Dolphins. And I think they're in prime location to go on the road and finally shut up the critic and be like, hey, we don't need Arrowhead to win playoff games. I do expect them to win. I do expect them to win that game against Buffalo. They're not scared of the frigid temperatures. Obviously, they play in Kansas City outdoors as well. But what's the one thing that the Dolphins have that the Bills also have is a run game, and the Dolphins' run game is dynamic. They shut that completely down.
Yeah, it was cold, but yeah, it was windy and cold, and it was really weird, weather-wise. But I feel you there. My number 1. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I just feel like Mahomes is Mahomes. Come playoff time, he knows it's win or go home. But this is just when he's at his best. So I just expect more of the same from him in Buffalo.
We'll see, man. Number 1 for me, Lamar Jackson. I just feel like he took so many steps this season. He's been electric. He's done it also. Mark Andrews goes out. What's he do? He keeps it going. Isaiah Likely is a great receiver, and I think we're starting to see him come into his own. So it makes you think, okay, what happens to Mark Andrews? Because he starts to become expendable at that point, and you never would have said that in the past. Or maybe you go 2 tight end sets when he is healthy. But it gives you some options. I love what they did at receiver. They're young, they're fast, and then you bring in a veteran receiver in Odell Beckham Jr., who fit in really nicely there. It was cool to see his career come back, and maybe he's not old, the old Odell Beckham of the past, but he's a Rams Odell Beckham again, right? So
Yeah.
he's doing what he needs to, and it's been fun to watch. So I think for me, I'm going him number one. I do want to talk about the Detroit Lions in terms of what they're getting back in health. We heard earlier this week that it looks like James Houston's going to be suiting up. That is huge. That is huge for the Lions. If he can be like he was when he played against last season in Thanksgiving against Josh Allen, he gets 5 snaps on defense, 2 sacks. He was on the practice squad, and they said, you know what? We got to let this man play. He had 8 sacks, I believe, in 7 games, somewhere around there. Man, if he can be like that on the other side with Hutch, you can't double team Hutch as much. So at that point, you open up so much, even in the middle there. Anzalone can get some pressure as well. I'm really, really interested to see what this defense looks like with James Houston. Now, that's granted if he plays. He's questionable right now, but it looks promising. Looks like he's probably going to suit up. What does James Houston do for this offense or this defense?
Like you said, the biggest thing he does, he allows Aiden Hutchinson to play one-on-one, in my opinion, and that's huge because no offensive lineman, regardless of how good you are, is beating or stopping Aiden Hutchinson one-on-one. J.J. Watt said it himself earlier this week that Hutchinson has one of the nastiest spin moves he's ever seen. So I mean, it just goes to show you how good that kid is. Imagine if he, adds a couple other moves to his repertoire, like. He's going to be dynamic and unstoppable at that point. But I expect the same Hutch, honestly. I really do. 7 sacks over his last 3 games. I think 15 total quarterback pressures, 8 quarterback hits. He's an animal, and I just expect more of the same.
Yeah, when J.J. Watt's giving you compliments, I mean, because we remember J.J. Watt coming off the edge, man. When he was healthy, the dude was unstoppable. He was unstoppable, swatting balls down, getting sacks. I mean, just pure power. And I think of Aiden Hutchinson kind of like that, right? I mean, he's bulked up and he's a strong guy, but man, so much finesse as well. And it's just such a a sack artist from the edge like that. There's so much, it's not just power, but the best, like Michael Strahan. I think of him. Reggie White,
Bruce Smith,
Robert Porcher. You think
Bruce
of those
Smith,
guys, I mean, Jared Allen. There's a ton of guys, right? You think of guys like that, and you're like, it's kind of an art. You know what I mean? You can't just bull a lineman down because this is normally the left tackle, right? He's the biggest guy on the line. He's got the best feet work. It's an art. It's an art, and you got to have good feet work. And I think we've seen good footwork from Hutch as well. He's just becoming a complete player. He's got 11.5 sacks right now. He had 10 sacks last season. Obviously played a little bit more games this year, but the thing is doesn't matter, man. Stats like that, keep piling them up. This guy has a real shot next year to have 14, 15 sacks because if Detroit has James Houston or they get anybody on that other edge, watch out, man, because he already impacts almost every play.
Yeah, no. I mean, do I expect the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year? No, I don't. But what do I expect? I do expect them to keep getting better. And what is going to stop them from winning the Super Bowl? It's going to be that defensive help for Aiden Hutchinson.
Easily.
In my opinion. They're going to put up 27-plus points, in my opinion, the rest of these games. Until they lose. That's going to be the defense's inability to not be able to stop the opposing team.
I agree.
So getting some cornerback help, getting another defensive end, some interior linemen, just to kind of keep the guys fresh and, off the field, later in games, is going to be a big determining factor here.
So here's another thing that impacts this. Yeah, we talk about the other side, right? Hutch needing some help. But the thing is if he doesn't have enough time to get to the quarterback, because last week, Matthew Stafford was able to get the ball out quick a lot of times because corners were just not covering their guys, right? I mean, we obviously can't play man, but I've seen it a couple times. We do more zone, obviously, because we don't have dudes. We don't have dudes out there on defense. We have a couple guys, but we got a lot of holes, man. A lot of guys that you're like, oh, wow, why is he playing? Why is he playing? On championship teams, these are guys that may not even hit the field, but we have to plug holes. So we're doing our best. We're pretty strong at safety, I believe. Kirby Joseph, I don't care what anyone says, he's not dirty. He's a great player. He's doing what he needs to do. And then C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Gardner-Johnson, Tracy Walker's back there.
Right. They've got some good safeties. Where it gets a little dicey is corner.
With Vildor and Chase Lucas and all these guys playing. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, once Jerry Jacobs went down, it kind of killed
and even Jacobs was getting burned.
Right, and I was gonna say, even to me, he's not that good of a player.
No.
He's good at the line of scrimmage, but you let your receiver get off the line of scrimmage, he's toast.
We paid Cam Sutton. We're gonna need to have Cam Sutton start playing like a 1 because he got absolutely burnt last week. Mm-hmm. Now I know Puka Nacua is, fantastic, but come on, man.
At the end of the day, Cam Sutton's a veteran. Puka's he's a rookie. It kind of showed the opposite way. Sutton played like a rookie, where Nacua played like a veteran. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sutton's definitely gonna have to step up when it comes to Chris Godwin or covering Mike Evans, or whatever the case may be.
Can you imagine that?
Decide to do that. Just imagine if this Bucks had Russell Gage as well. They don't have their deep threat out there. He's been out all year.
Right, and I thought I heard that they may have Gage back.
Because one thing that Baker has that Goff does is a pretty strong arm. That's an element of the game that they're missing as well. So,
yeah, could be interesting, man. Could really be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens. Clark, one thing I wanted to talk about here too, and I did touch on the injury report a little bit. Obviously, Laporta questionable. We do expect him to play. Raymond out. That knee injury is pretty bad. It must be. It's okay. Like we've already talked about it. You made a trade to bring in a Michigan man here. Help me out with the name.
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
DPJ. He should help in that area. That Bucs defense versus Goff. We saw that Bucs defense. They look fast against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. They looked incredible. I personally think Goff is a better passer than Hurts. Hurts is a better deep ball guy. I think that's obvious. But Goff can stay in that pocket, and I think where defenses kind of break down is obviously Hurts' scrambling abilities, right? Goff doesn't have that, but I do trust Goff as a pocket passer more. Not to say Jalen won't get there. He's MVP conversation all the time, and he's great. But he's got some growing to do, and we found that out. But that Bucs defense really has gotten better and better as the year has gone on. I think they had a shutout to end the season, and then obviously what they did against Philly. Does that defense scare you at all?
If this game was in Tampa Bay, it would a little bit. But I think the crowd noise in Detroit is going to confuse the heck out of the Bucs. So I think that's going to play a huge factor in the game.
Yeah,
it's just the crowd, getting them off their game. Now, if this game, like I said, was in Tampa, the home crowd there could be an issue and could help motivate them, juice them up, things of that nature. But I think the Lions, like two playoff games in one year, that's motivation enough for them. Like they haven't done that since the '57 season when they won the NFL championship.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of motivation for the Lions to go out there and actually put a good game on the field, which I expect them to do and win this game. I don't think the Bucs are going to have it in them to cover Amon-Ra, cover Laporta, who's now another week healthier after the knee injury, and then again they didn't have Montgomery or Gibbs in the first matchup and still beat it by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think that's going to play a huge factor as well as that run game and having our 1 and 2 back.
So I'm going to say something that a lot of people might disagree with me with, but I want your opinion on this. If Detroit doesn't win this game, I feel like this year's a disappointment, and I say that because they should win this game. And this was not about, okay, let's just make the playoffs. It was like, let's make some damage and move on and really make some noise. And I think if you lose this game, I think it really it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts that momentum. And people might say, oh, momentum doesn't carry from year to year. It totally does. It's the organization and the way they're viewed. I think if they lose this game, it's a disappointment.
No, I 100% agree with you. On paper, this is a game they should win, especially after how that first matchup went. Just like I said, they didn't have Gibbs, they didn't have Montgomery, they didn't have
Yeah.
Ragnow, they didn't have Decker, they didn't have. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I think there was at least 10 or 11 players that was out that game. They still won the game by 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
So I 100% agree with you, and I believe you might be one of the people. But earlier in the season, I know I sent it to a few different people, and I still have the text messages that says, "Hey, come Super Bowl Sunday, don't be shocked if the Lions are there."
I wouldn't be, man. I wouldn't be, but I
Like,
feel like they need to be. That's why they can't lose this game. It will
no,
be a disappointment.
but no, I said this back in September though to multiple friends of mine.
Yeah.
I still have the text messages. Where I said like, "Hey, on paper, this team is going to be good. They're definitely top three behind the Eagles and the Niners." It was my exact statement at the time. Now, in that regard, I think they're the second best team. Looking at how the Eagles, stumbled down the stretch.
Yeah.
So I think if the Lions win and the Niners win, it's exactly what it needs to be. It's the number one versus number two teams in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen at that point, right? I'm not saying I want anyone to get hurt either. But injuries can happen. You never know what teams will look like when they go head to head, right? Especially this late in the season. But maybe Laporta's a little bit healthier, right?
Yep.
I don't know about Raymond. I don't think he's going to play in the playoffs personally, but maybe Houston's a little bit healthier. You don't know, right? You don't know. Maybe, in my opinion, if they're going to beat a San Francisco or move on to a Super Bowl or something like that, it's going to be because you're going to need somebody other than St. Brown to step up. Okay. And I know Reynolds did a little bit last week in that first drive, but after that disappeared. I got to have somebody step up at receiver.
No, see, I kind of disagree in that regard. I think how do you win on the road, especially come postseason? You
I'm going
have
to say
to
run the game.
You have to take the crowd out of the game.
Yeah.
And you do that by running the ball. And the Lions probably have the best 1-2 punch in all of the National Football League, along with a top 1, 2, or 3 offensive line.
Yeah.
That's how you keep, Bosa off of Goff. That's how you keep Chase Young off of Goff. That's how you keep Warner off of Goff up the middle. Is you control that line of scrimmage on offense and you win an ugly game, 27-24, 24-21 type of game.
So give me, we'll end with this. We got about 3 minutes here. The Lions win if, and the Lions lose if.
Oh, the Lions definitely lose this game if Hutchinson's not, absolutely wreaking havoc on Baker Mayfield. I think he doesn't even need to have a sack, but you need to have probably at least 8 to 10 pressures, to get Goff off his spots and make stupid, Baker Mayfield type of throws. My bad, I did say Goff the first time. You got to get him off his spot, make him make Baker Mayfield type of throws. If Hutch can do that, then the Lions win this game. They lose this game, in my opinion, if Goff is being Goff and making stupid throws, turning the ball over 2-3 times, like he has in the past, i.e. the Ravens game. The Seahawks game, the first game of the year, I believe he had 1 or 2 interceptions. That's been the recipe for losing all year, is turning the ball over. But if they win the turnover battle, they're winning those games. So it comes down to protecting the ball. And again, how do you do that, David?
You got to run the ball.
Ding ding ding.
Got to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean it's that time of year now. You're down to the final 8. You have to win the trenches, and the Lions, I believe, are probably, and I'll say it, they're probably the best in that regards. Looking at what's left in the playoffs, probably the best offensive lineman, the best running back combination, and Montgomery and Gibbs. So they definitely have the recipe to, maybe not win it all, but definitely compete and have that chance to get there to Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, we're in our final minute here. Be quick with this one. Give me a stat from the Lions and a stat from the Bucks, like a player. I'm going to start first. I'll go Jahmyr Gibbs. I say he goes for over 150 all-purpose yards in this game and 2 touchdowns. I'm going to say on the other side, I'm going to say Mike Evans is going to have 2 drops. I'm saying Detroit holds him for under 45 yards. You.
For me, I think if the Bucks want to win this game, it's a Chris Godwin type of game. He lives over the middle of the field where the Lions absolutely suck at. So I think I could see him going for 5, 6, 7 catches and 90 plus yards. So, I'd be confident in that if I was betting on it. And in terms of the Lions, I agree. It's all or nothing with Jahmyr Gibbs. Like he is, Detroit's CMC. Now let's start treating him like such. He is literally a dynamic type of player. We are in the, dog days. I'll steal a baseball term here, or the dog, or we're in the.
I'm all right with it.
We're in the dog days of the playoff run. Like let's act like it now. And let's get the ball to our explosive players and win the game. But no, I definitely expect Gibbs to have 80 plus, all-purpose yards, 100. I'd probably be confident with. Montgomery's probably gonna have 50, 60, 70 rushing yards, and I think Monty and Gibbs both score a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, man, I love it. Clarky, we will have this up obviously Saturday right now, episode 12. I think the plan is for us to try to jump on tomorrow before pregame, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. We'll go on live, whether that's on YouTube or Facebook. We'll figure that out. We are getting our socials together. Clarky got us on TikTok now, right?
Yep. We are on TikTok right now. It's at Detroit on Deck, all lowercase. So yeah, go give us a follow on there. We'd greatly appreciate that. And content will be up there shortly.
Loving it. Hey, we'll even throw some Red Wings talk in next week because your boys coming through and taking us to the game, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Thursday against the Flyers. We will be in the building, at Little Caesars Arena. So, hey, let's go have some fun.
Love it. All right, man. Hey, let's have some fun, some football Saturday and Sunday coming up. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Episode 12 in the books. Clarky, I'll see you soon. Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace out, brother.
Thanks for listening to Detroit on Deck. Be sure to like and subscribe to our page for more Detroit content.